basic identifying slope, positive, negative, 0, and undefined. So if we look at the first one, the slope is going downhill. So that is negative slope. All right, so this one is negative slope. Straight up and down is undefined. Sloping from left to right uphill is positive, and going straight or flat is 0 slope. All right, next one, pause the video, see which ones you know. This is just matching. So for example, I know slope is rise over run. So I'm just going to write A there and cross it out. So pause the video, see which ones you know. All right, so another word for slope is also the m in the mx plus b equation. So I'm going to write G. And another word for slope is, or another thing for slope is the formula itself, which is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. All right, it doesn't matter what order you have those in, as long as you have A, G, and H for the first one, you're all right. The y-intercept in this equation is the b, so that's F. This whole equation here is called slope-intercept form, so that's b. Point slope form is this format, y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. We know that parallel lines have the same slope, and perpendicular lines have the opposite reciprocal. So check your answers, fix any mistakes you have. All right, go ahead and pause the video and try these. You want to label them as linear or not. So yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. All right, so the first one, we want to look for a pattern in the y's. So that's going down 5, and then it's going down 3. So that one is not linear. This one's going down 5, down 5, down 5. So since it's going down by the same amount, that one is yes. All right. This one is in the format we've been writing most of our equations in. It's in point slope form, so that's a yes. You can also look and see that the x is just a normal x. This one is no because it has the x squared there, so that's nonlinear. So hopefully these first ones are pretty easy. Those are going to be the vocabulary section of your test. Now we're going to move on to the writing equations portion of your test. So if we look at this one, we need to first find the slope. So remember the slope, we box and box. So we do 7 minus 3 first on top. And on the bottom, we'll circle. And we'll do 4 minus 2 on the bottom. That gives me a final slope of 4 over 2. And 4 over 2 simplifies to 2 over 1. So you need to know the setup for the test. It's y minus blank equals blank, x minus blank. That's point slope form. My slope goes in the middle next to the equal, so that's where I'm going to put my 2. My point that I'm going to pick is 2, 3, so I'm going to label it xy. 3 goes next to y because it's the y. 2 goes next to x because it's the x. So now see if you, even if you didn't get that part right, pause the video now and see if you can simplify that or convert that to slope-intercept form. All right, so we're going to first distribute. So I get y minus 3 equals 2x minus 4. To get rid of this minus 3, I'm going to add 3 to both sides. My final equation then is y equals 2x minus 1. All right, and then our last step is to graph. So we're going to take our y-intercept, that's our starting point. So we're going to go on the y-axis, which is the up and down axis, to -1. That's our starting dot. And remember, when our slope is a whole number, it's really 2 over 1. So we're going to rise up 2, run over 1, rise up 2, run over 1. And we could keep doing that until we get our line. And then you're just doing your best to make a line through those points. All right, pause the video and try this one on your own then. All right, so we're going to start with the y equals. The only part we're concerned with on this one is the slope, which is this 3 here. So our parallel slope is going to be the same, so our slope is going to be 3. All right, so our slope goes in the middle. Our point is 1, 4. If I label it as xy, 4 goes there because it's y, 1 goes here because it's x. Now, if you didn't get that step, stop now and see if you can distribute and solve at least. All right, so we distributed, got 3x minus 3, and then to get rid of the minus 4, we add 4. Our final equation is 3x plus 1. All right, the next one's going to be very similar, but it's going to be parallel versus perpendicular. So it's going to be perpendicular versus parallel, excuse me. So this one we need to look at 1/3, but it's asking us for it perpendicular. So for parallel, or for perpendicular, excuse me, we flip it and we change the sign. So it's going to become 3/1. Since this is positive, I'm going to make my slope negative. And then again, just like for the test, you need to memorize this format. So y minus blank equals blank x minus blank. All right, I'm going to plug my slope in here. My point is xy, so the 1 goes next to the y, the -2 goes next to the x. When I have two negatives in a row, it turns into a positive. And just like before, if you did not try this one on your own yet, try and distribute. If it's 3/1, you can basically ignore the 1 and just distribute that 3. So I get y minus 1 equals -3x minus 6. I add 1, I add 1. I get y equals -3x minus 5. All right, now these last ones are somewhat multiple choice, so we got one that we have to convert into from standard form to slope intercept form. Excuse me, I'm yawning. So I'm going to rewrite the equation and draw my line. The first step is to add or subtract the x here. So we're going to subtract the x term from both sides. So I get 3y equals 12 minus 4x, and then to get rid of the 3, I'm going to divide. All right, so my final answer is y equals 12 divided 3 is 4, and I don't do anything when I can't divide it, so 4/3 stays the same thing. Now, the only part we need to look at in this equation is what's next to the x here. So -4/3, that's our slope. So my parallel slope is going to be -4/3. My perpendicular slope, remember I flip it and I change the sign. So it's going to become 3/4. Since this is negative, this would turn to a positive. All right, go ahead on your papers and try and distribute this one. Most of you can do that on your own, so just check your answer when you're done. All right, hopefully you distributed first. And then you added the 2 to both sides, so your final answer should be 3x minus 10. And that would then give us B as our answer. All right. All right, the next thing we're doing is going to solve. So we're going to minus 2x from both sides. And then we're going to divide by 3. Now this question doesn't just ask us to solve. So we get 2 minus 2/3 x. It asks us for which one is perpendicular. So perpendicular, remember we have to look at the slope. So our slope is -2/3. The flip is 3/2. This is a negative, that would be positive. So all we're looking for is the slope. We don't care about the y-intercept because it just asks us to be perpendicular. It doesn't ask us to actually find the y-intercept. So the slope that we're looking for is A. And lastly, which one matches the equation? We need to solve this again. So we add or subtract the x term. So I'm going to minus 2x from both sides. That's gone. So my equation is 1 minus 2x. So what I know about this is that the slope is -2 and the y-intercept is 1. So I'm going to look for those points. This one has a y-intercept of 1, that one has a y-intercept of 1, that one has a y-intercept of 1, that one has a y-intercept of 1. Okay? So now I'm looking for negative slope. So I know this one's not negative because it's going uphill. I know this one's not negative because it's going uphill. So now I'm looking for one that goes down 2 over 1. That one does. So if I try this one, down 2 over 1, that one doesn't work. So that leaves me with B for my final answer. All right, so once you're done with this, you can go ahead and start working on the review. You can re-watch the video during the review if you need extra help. Please use your notes as well.